Welcome, everybody, to today's conversation with Saskith Lawless and Valentina DeGiorgi. This creative team are the founders of The Dark Candy, a documentary and impact production company with a penchant for costume design. This team in life and in work have interviewed dozens of today's top costume designers from Europe, South America, East and West Coast in the United States. Today's presentation is made possible in part by the UCLA Design Fund. This UCLA guest speaker series acknowledges the Gabrielino Tongva peoples as the traditional land caretakers of the Los Angeles Basin and the South Channel Islands. As a land-grant institution, UCLA also pays respect to the Tongva ancestors, elders, as well as their relatives of the past, present, and emerging. And now for the highlight of their accomplishments. So Saskis has a career as an editorial fashion photographer, and Valentina has a career in various aspects from journalism, fashion, lifestyle publications, as well as working as a consultant collaborating with up-and-coming brands and showrooms in Milan. Could you both talk a little bit more about your original career and your current, I think you're still pursuing this, with your endeavors with the fashion industry?
Yes, I must say that every time I watch our trailer, it's very emotional.
Yes,
Because I remember all the journey. Yes, exactly.
And you make costume design look amazing.
Okay, you think
is.
so? Oh, it is. Yeah, yes. We still continue to make projects with this topic, with costume design and costume designers. So I wanted to say first for my background, hello to everybody. Thank you again for the invitation. And I'm Sakis Lalas, and I'm an editorial photographer and a documentary filmmaker. I worked for a lot of magazines, also American magazines, about 7 years for Women's Wear Daily. It's a very important fashion newspaper in the United States, but I worked from Milan, from Milan's office, and also worked for Corriere della Sera. It's a very important Italian newspaper. I made a lot of portraits, editorial stuff. I photographed, I think, all of the most important designers in Italy, from Giorgio Armani to Roberto Cavalli, Roberta Ferretti, Etro, everybody.
When I started, I was a little bit confused. So I didn't know what I wanted to do. So I started studying archaeology.
Oh, for God's sakes.
Yes. So I studied archaeology, and then I realized I didn't want to spend my life doing excavations in the ground, in the dust, all these things. Then we went in Milan. I was born in Milan, actually, but I used to live in the south of Italy, and then I came back to Milan with Sakis. And Milan is the city of fashion, so I started because I really like to write. I love to write. Mm-hmm. And this was something that was always with me. So I started writing about fashion and lifestyle. Then I started to make some consultant for upcoming brands and new designers, because I started to like the process of building a collection. So from the beginning, from the sketch to the moment you see the clothes on the racks.
Wow.
And I had this very, very big love for clothes and all the process that goes from the sketch to the clothes when you see it. This was until we met the costume designers and everything changed. So,
you know what's amazing? I don't know if you've come across this, but so many costume designers started from archaeology, art history, yes, and archaeology. It is so, I've heard this for decades throughout my career. It's really fabulous. Yes. And then Saskis, you also are part of the Italian press corps.
Exactly. Well. I'm a member of the Italian Foreign Press Association since 2001. I collaborate for many foreign magazines from Italy. I was based in Italy for almost 20 years. But the last 4 years, we live between Italy and Greece now.
And your origins, you are of Greek descent. And then you did this beautiful photo series of portraits of Greeks working in the arts.
Exactly. And everything, our experience with Los Angeles and with costume designers started when we started this photographic project. And when we came to Los Angeles for the first time in 2016, the photographic project was Hollywood Greek Fire. And I tried to find Greeks from the movie industry, of course. So it was a lot of
designers, directors, exactly, agents, yeah.
For example, Jim Giannopoulos was the CEO of Paramount since September, I think. It was his last retired, yes.
Yeah, yeah.
And like Ariane Tholis, it was also a former president of HBO. Mary Joffres, yeah. And you, of course, you have a Greek descent.
Yes, actually, the photographic project is of Sakis. When I came in LA, I was just wandering, looking at the city and what's happening in fashion. And then I have a very, very dear childhood friend who Chrissy knows, and everybody, I think you know, Christian Cordella.
Oh, the illustrator.
Yes.
We all love Christian. You know, he taught here last year.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he said us, why don't you come with me tonight? Because there is the opening of the, I have to read the 24th Annual Art of Motion Picture Costume Design Exhibition at FIDM, because it was 2016. Yeah.
Right.
And we said, yeah, okay, it's costume. We really like costumes. So we went there, and when we saw these costumes, and when we listened to the costume designers chatting to each other, and when we started to talk with these costume designers, guys, it was a world, a whole world, magical world. We fell in love, really. what are these people, what these people do, what skills they have, that what preparation and culture from fashion to architecture, archaeology, business, and the how they are able to find the perfect balance between the budget and the creativity.
Yeah.
And it was really love. And our life changed. For the first time, when we watched movies, we were always like, oh, look at this. This is this, and this skirt, and these costumes. And then we started to read and to study and to listen to talks and videos. And then we decided to come because this was a discovery for us. And we wanted to make people a part of this, to make people to know this.
Right.
Amazing work, because nobody told us what happens behind the costume. So we wanted to let people know what happens behind the costume. And that made us coming back in LA over and over again, and to interview and to film these big costume designers.
And we wanted to share this experience to other people. So this was the start of Meet the Hollywood Costume Designer docuseries. Because our background is in the photography, is in the filmmaking. So we thought to make a project.
Yeah, and it was the way to pull all of your expertise and your filmmaking expertise all together. But incredible that this happened at the FIDM, FIDM, Fashion Institute of Design and Merchandising. That is a fantastic exhibit. 20 years, the best of costume design for film. And I think it's now 12 or 14 years, best of costume design for television. It's an amazing event. And all of it, you actually have it in one of your short documentaries of the footage in that space. But that's amazing that it all started. So that led to meet your first series, Meet the Hollywood Costume Designers. It's a one-of-a-kind docuseries created and produced by both of you. And you go and you interviewed all of these designers, myself as well. But what's really special is that you captured so many of these designers in their place of creativity. Like Lou Eyrick, who is the costume designer for Ryan Murphy, now the producer of Ryan Murphy's series. She's at Palace Costumes, or Jenny Egan is at Western Costumes. So how did that, was it an accident that you started filming all of us in our like creative bubble?
I must say that we dedicated to you the second episode. So it was a journey to come to Paramount, if you remember well.
Oh, and he took you around.
Yes, you invite us to Paramount, to your wardrobe department. I have this background of portrait photographer and filmmaker. So I always ask to the people that we must interview, which is the place that he feels more comfortable, for example. This was one of the reasons of these choices of the locations, because the costume designers wanted to, for example, Lou Eyrick wanted to go to Palace Costume. She organized everything for the location. It was an experience to make a tour by Lou Eyrick to this amazing costume house. The same was with Jen Egan. Jen Egan, another.
She wanted.
Yes.
She made Western Costume Company.
The Western Costume.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. And we arrived to this place that the Western Costume is in a place that near to the highway. It's not in a place that you can imagine that you will find this treasure.
Yeah, it's really fantastic. So in this series, Meet the Hollywood Costume Designers, you interviewed 27 different costume designers. Is there a second part of this. Oh, wait, I need to say who some of those 27 are. So you also interviewed Marilyn Vance for Pretty Women, Deborah Nadeau-Landis, the Blues Brothers, Carlo Pajoli, The Young Pope, Lynn Paulo, and Scandal, and of course, Lou Eyrick. Really incredible. We can't wait for you to come back to do another second part of this series. But after you did the 27 episodes, when you were doing this series, in like all of us, in March 15th, March 20th of 2020, everything shut down. But then it led to a new creative endeavor that you did this incredible short, it's very poignant, your short documentary on Hollywood in quarantine. And
Yes.
this was incredible insight into each of these costume designers in their comfort zone, in their homes, probably for the first time in decades, having to stay in one place. But you really captured the emotion of that turmoil of all of what we've been going through. How did that come
Yes.
about?
Like every one of us and of you, at one point we were stuck in the house, in our homes, with nothing to do but binge watching Netflix.
Yep.
We had another idea for this, so we were like, what we can do, and suddenly we said, what are doing costume designers? They are used to work long hours on set. They are used to travel, and for the first time in the history, Hollywood is shut down.
Right.
How they are dealing with this, with the fear, with the panic, and with the surprise, and with the uncertainty. And so we decided to ask to them directly. And yes, so Hollywood in Quarantine was born, and it was...
Yes, that period we had organized another trip to LA from Italy.
Yes.
But thanks to lockdown and the quarantines, all these things, we were stuck in our home. So we decided to continue to produce and to continue to be creative.
And at the beginning, we decided to have 10 costume designers, 5 from the US and 5 from Italy. I don't know if you remember, Italy at the beginning of the pandemic, yes, was hit very, very, very hard. So we had 5 costume designers who accepted to do this project, but as the time went by, they were so wrecked emotionally that 3 of them told us, sorry, we didn't feel to put ourselves in front of a camera. Right. And if you watch this picture, the 2 Italian costume designers, they are they are not Daniela smiling Ciancio too much. Yes. And Eva Cohen. They are really, if you see, they are really destroyed. Yeah. They are very, very, very
down,
very down.
Depressed, and
so we had these 7 people who were willing to do this project with us. And Sakis, as director.
Yes, at the end we had only 2 Italians. And of course, because it was already locked down in Rome in that period, and the United States not yet. Mm-hmm. So it was a little bit more easier with the Americans. Yeah. So yes, we contacted Kelly Jones from your left. I don't know if you recognize all the designers. Yes, Kelly Jones that makes Sons of Anarchy, Ellen Mirosnik, and Meredith Pollack.
Mark Pollack.
Daniel Orlandi, and Dennis Wingate. And the Italians are Daniela Ciancio. She made the Great Beauty of Sorrentino, of director Sorrentino, and Eva Cohen.
Mafia Kills Only
Summer is very important hit in Italy TV series. So we found we had this group of costume designers, and we started to communicate with them by messages, by emails, and we sent to them some
a script
and of course the questions and some tips how to put their camera, how
Yeah,
to
they did it on their
live
phones.
on their phones.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's incredible.
Um,
Incredible.
It's incredible. Yes, of course. Thanks to the good the mobile phones, the smartphones, and the
Yeah.
good the technology
Amazing.
helped us a lot.
Amazing.
Yes. Also, the audio was very good. And this project, this short documentary is 20 minutes, and it was official selection at Milan Fashion Film Festival this year in January. And in February in Athens, in Greece, it was another official selection in this festival. So
fantastic.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
this led to your online live talk series. You have a new series of 6 episodes where fashion meets cinema.
Yes.
Talk about
It
this
was-
series.
It was again another idea because, as I told before, we were spending so many hours on our couch in front of the TV with Netflix, a go-go, binge watching, and then suddenly we started to realize in this new order of things how important are now the costume designers for the launch of new trends and new designers, because sometimes they collaborate with designers, and how costumes now influence the fashion brands collections. So we thought about this project, Fashion Meets Cinema, live talks, but they were a very, very strange kind of live talks because we hosted the costume designer, and we had some guests, a very small and selected number of fashion insiders, fashion designers,
That's incredible.
fashion journalists.
Yeah.
Yes. So we had 1 hour. The first 30 minutes was dedicated to the talk between us and our host, our guest. And then we leave all the people, we would leave the people doing answer question, but they did not always, it wasn't a question and answer just, but it was a lot of time, a chit-chat room. They started to talk together.
It was an experience for the people from the
Yes.
fashion industry to talk with a costume designer because it's a different concept. It's very different, you know, better.
Yeah, I
So
know it very well. Absolutely. Well, you know, and talking like to the costume designer from Unorthodox, this is the perfect case where it is contemporary clothing, but it's a subculture of a whole different sensibility of how they wear their clothes. What are their choices? That is just incredible. And she's such an incredible designer to talk with. And you
Yes.
had, she was over in Berlin, and then you've got Donna Zakowski over in New York, and the designer from Emily in Paris. It's wonderful that you're even able to, you know, traverse between 2 continents back and forth. It's quite incredible.
Yes.
So from this series, I think this is part of the live events. This led to your live events.
Yeah, we were still shooting Meet the Hollywood Costume Designer, so we were back and forth from US and Rome, and we thought again it would be amazing to give people the chance to meet these wonderful people we can meet, and to put all these people together. So we came up with this idea of organizing events. We wanted to go on, but the pandemic stopped us.
Right, right.
yeah, we organized till now 3 live events with people and
Yes.
So there was this one where you have Deborah Landis, Eva Cohen, of course, Carlo Paggioli, so well versed. And this was with the Foreign Press Association in Rome. And then from there, I think then you did the one, this is the one with Sonia Hayes. So you were able, she was filming in London, so you could then bring her into Rome to this event. Look how crowded it is. It's incredible.
yeah. And a lot of the young people are from the Marangoni, from
Yes.
the fashion
where
school of
one of our
Marangoni.
students went, right?
Oh, yeah, yes, exactly.
Yeah, absolutely wonderful.
Yeah.
You
Like
Yes.
I
have to
said
come and
before,
do an event here at UCLA.
You do a lot of things. We cannot
we can
do something more.
organize some to present our next future documentary about
Here we
or
go.
something.
Here we go. It's an open invitation. But now let's
Thank
talk
you.
about the incredible Anthea Silbert and her work with Rosemary's Baby. So this was one of the key anniversaries of this film. And then you did this event and you have more than several hundred people here. Where was
Yes.
this? This was in Rome?
No, this event was in Greece, and we made it in collaboration with Thessaloniki International Film Festival. Is the most important in Greece.
It
But
was
she's a dynamic speaker, very, very incredibly well versed, and she talks about her process from an artist perspective. It's quite insightful.
Yes, she is really dynamic. She has a lot of energy,
Hmm.
but don't forget, she's 83 years old.
It's incredible.
And she really, she doesn't leave her house. She doesn't travel far from home so much. So she really wanted to do this. And
This event, no,
yes,
to
and
come to
she
the event.
chose Rosemary's Baby because she wanted to watch the movie after many years, and she was really moved. But you know, she was like, when she entered the cinema, she was walking very slowly, leaning on the arm of her husband. She was like a very, very old woman, like she was lost.
Yeah.
But then she was greeted by a very big applause, and she found her energy again. And she talked, and by the end of the night, oh my God, everybody was in love with her. In love, really.
You're going to add decades to her life. So this segues over that you are now in development for putting together a feature, and you're going to be spotlighting Anthea's career, correct?
Yes, yes. This is one of the 3 projects we have in development right now. Yeah, we would like to tell the story of Anthea Silbert because she was an amazing costume designer. We know it. But she's a very strong person. There are a lot of things about her life that really struck a chord on us. For example, her energy, but her energy applied at her career as costume designer because she was very strong. And she used to work, she was a protagonist of the New Hollywood era, and it was really, really difficult to work in that period with this. So I cannot say selfish, but many of them were selfish or very big director, Roman Polanski, and she always stand for her ideas. So much so that after the last movie that she worked on was FIE's Feast, and she decided to leave it because
she became a producer, right?
She became a producer, and this was another very, very, very
complicated career path.
Yes, it was a part of her career, which is really, really amazing and very, very amazing because she became a producer but executive in the studios, and the studios were the enemy of the New Hollywood people. So she told us that Warren Beatty stopped talking to her for 6 months, but she was so amazing problem solver that she was the bridge between the artistic and the costume designers and the studios. But then again, she couldn't stand there because all the male-dominated Hollywood tried to put her in the corner, and she couldn't do this. So she left again, and she opened her company with Goldie Hawn, which is another very strong woman.
Right.
So we had this very strong woman with another strong woman, Paula Weinstein, and they worked together for 10 years.
Oh, fantastic.
So she has so many things to say, And her philosophy of design was so strange, was so, as I told before, she was always looking at the reality. For example, she told us that sometimes she used to put many things, small things like a pen or some staples in the pockets of a jacket. Yes, because the people, the actor, used to put the jacket and said, "What is it? Oh, I got a pen, I got staples. Now you have to leave this because you work in an office."
Yes, exactly.
Yes.
Right.
So yeah, we would like to. We are working on a pre-production. We are on the pre-production moment. How can I say stage on this?
Yeah.
But we have other projects we're working on.
I am sure you always have like so many projects happening at once. It's like, spinning all the plates. What I would
Yes.
like to do is to open up the session so that our students can get a chance to ask questions. So who would like to start?
Hi, Sakis and Valentina. It's so nice to meeting you, especially because it's very interesting to listen to you about the fashion, the relation between fashion and costume design, as I come from the menswear. And I worked for 5 years in a fashion design company, and I have translated now. And I'm in this transition of understanding all of what you have discovering and you have talked about. And I was wondering if you could like talk for a specific sample that blow your mind about what, I didn't know a costume designer could do this rather than a fashion designer. You talk about seeing the sample from the sketch to the catwalk or the sketch to the movies, or maybe there is something that you could like highlight in order to keep being amazing of listening to you.
I can tell you what I told to the girl from Arrigo Costumi, with which we organized the event with Sania Heiss. If you remember, maybe if we can go and see again the picture of the event.
I can pull that up. Yeah, go ahead. You keep
Yes.
talking and I'll pull it up again.
She told me she was one of the owners of the costume house. And she told me, "Oh my God, Sania Heiss, she's so amazing. She's so beautiful." So they have in the archive, if you see where all the people are sitting, you can see many, I can say closets, but they are not closets. They are something, yes, they are something like hallways with a lot of clothes, and every hallway has the door that opens. Yes, opens like this.
Exactly like this.
Yeah.
And I told her,
you can see it right here.
Yes.
Out of doors, and it goes all the way down the hall. Yeah.
Yes.
And these big, huge cranks to separate the rows.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I remember I told her, costume designers, every costume designer, it's like this hallway. You open the door and you find something very different. You discover something very different. Every costume designer is something you have to discover. You can find costume designers that are more, how can I say, they sketch, or costume designers that can find inspiration from life, or maybe they're walking somewhere and they look at something and they say, "Oh my God," and from this they design all the character. There are some costume designers that are more theoretical. Some they are more architecture. You have, every costume designer was so different. What can I say to you is, and it was really a very big surprise for us, when you say to a costume designer, created an icon, a fashion icon. For example, Marilyn Benz created a fashion icon. Anthea Silver created a fashion icon with the shampoo. I don't know if you remember the dress that with the open back.
Yeah.
We don't have here, but
No,
a lot
I didn't hear.
of costume designers created fashion
And
icons,
influenced
immortal,
fashion, yes.
immortal, iconic, and they say, "What? Really?"
But they didn't know.
I
They
didn't
don't
know.
yes.
Because it's like Saki says, they don't indulge in what they do. They just work. And when the work is done, when the job is done, they are on
Jump
another
to the other
work.
project, so they don't have also time to discover all these things.
Yeah.
Yes.
And what they leave behind is something so huge, but they don't know, they don't notice.
Sophia.
Okay, thank you so much for joining us. Love watching your videos. I have a question that may be too nitty-gritty or a secret, but how do you fund these projects? How do you do these wonderful things? I would love to do them. And if you could talk about kind of the nitty-gritty production process, and that would be great.
Yes, this is the difficult part of the job, to try to find the funding. At the beginning, we was the producer. We invest our money, but then we found some fashion companies that or costume houses. For example, the event with Sanya Hayes was sponsored with from that costume house that host us.
Yeah, many costume houses and
costume houses and fashion designers wants to meet the costume designers, so they have all the interest to pay some money. So it was an alternative kind of funding. The projects that we are working now, the 3 projects, is the traditional funding, and we are talking with a production company that they will sell.
they will produce and sell.
They produce and sell to the television or the streaming platform. So
Yeah, it's part European, part American company. Yeah?
Yes.
Yeah.
And we have a producer in LA now. She's
That's fantastic. Ali, you had your hand up. Do you have a question?
Hi. Well, thank you. First, thank you so much for coming to speak with us. I remember being a teenager, watching my favorite movies and TV shows. I always wanted to know like exactly how the costumes were made and how they chose X coat over Y coat, but it was kind of difficult to find that information. So thank you so much for shining a light on this now. My question is, in your interview with Donna Zakowska, she discussed with you how she was a New York native and how much that informed her design process on The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel. So I was wondering, just in all of your interviews with all these costume designers, how much you found that where a designer comes from then informs their artistic process.
For example, if we talk about Donna Zakowska, yes, she's New York. So you can see it in her way of working, and she said she's more European. You can see it in what she does, and the same is with Anthea Silbert. She was New Yorker, so she's from New York. So yeah, she looked at the more at the reality, as I told before. And then, for example, Sonu Mishra, I don't know if you watched the last episode we have online, but Sonu Mishra, she is from India. She worked for Genius Picasso and Genius Einstein. Yeah, she's from India, and her father was a producer of Bollywood. So she grown up in Bollywood, and she has a very, very Zen way to approach the design. For example, she gives a lot of importance to the team. So everything she does is with her team. She gives very importance to the colors. We saw this to other people too, and Donna Zakowska talked with colors. For example,
especially about her use of paint.
Yes,
right?
She's a painter like you, Chrissy.
Yes, she's a painter.
Quite a painter, yeah.
So, and then we had, they are very, Sanya Hayes, for example, she has a very peculiar way to approach the design. She's like a soldier.
She's coming from architecture. She
Yes.
studied architecture.
She finds an architectural
Architecture,
rhythm
Yes,
or a pattern, and then she designs within
really.
that pattern, right? It's
Yes.
Yeah.
just like, and that's why science fiction is one of her fortes. She is fabulous
Yes.
at it.
Yes. And she comes, and this comes from her Croatian root, because Croatians are really like this, very, very strong people, structured people.
Right.
Yeah, you can see some difference between people that comes from New York, like Marilyn Benz, for example. She came from the music underground, from the New York music underground, so you can see it.
Or Jenny Mimes from France.
Jenny Mimes for France.
She was working in the fashion industry.
Yeah, for this reason, she was yelling at the Italian people, because France people with Italian people doesn't go along a lot.
Every time in competition, yes.
Yes, but she, for example, comes from France and comes from fashion, because she used to work at Elle France.
Elle Magazine.
Elle Magazine, yes. And this again, you can see in the way she works. So she wants everything to be, she's like the director of a magazine.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
everything has to work like a clock.
Okay, so does anybody else, who wants to ask next? Anybody ready for a question?
I see
Eva,
I see
yes,
two
go
hands.
ahead.
Hello, thank you so much for being with us. So my question is, like you said already, there are two very different worlds, two different type of people, costume designers and fashion designers. And obviously when you bring those worlds together, you can't avoid sometimes conflicts, like you said, the story with Deborah Landis, you know, when you've heard that. How do you handle it, and how do you really, in a friendly manner, introduce these two worlds to each other? Because I can imagine it's got to be hard sometimes.
I know a lot of fashion designers and now a lot of costume designers. Yeah, the problem is that at the basis of their work are very different. For example, I remember a friend of mine, a very talented fashion designer, who back in Milan told me, oh, I would really like to be a costume designer because I think my clothes will be amazing on Nicole Kidman. And I told him, and if Nicole Kidman in that movie, she's a homeless. Did you think about this? So the problem is they don't understand the final aim of the clothes, if we can say.
Tell the story.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
To tell the story, yeah.
That's the problem. So the only way for a costume designer and a fashion designer to work together, and many of them do this, is for the fashion designer to understand that he works at the service of the costume designer. For example,
also Marilyn Vance collaborated with Armani for Untouchables.
Yeah, but she was this is a very bad story. She was very upset. Yeah, she was very upset.
She wasn't so happy from the result from Armani.
For example, when we talked with Antonella Canarozzi, she's a costume designer from Italy. She worked on My Brilliant Friend. She was Oscar nominated for the costumes.
Okay.
This is Love, something like that. Yeah, I'm Love. I am Love.
I am Love.
Luca Guadagnino's I Am Love. And she was nominated for Oscar for the costumes.
10 years ago.
Yeah.
If I remember well.
And she worked a lot with fashion designers because she worked with Fendi for the men costumes, and for the costumes of the protagonist, Tilda Swinton, she worked with Raf Simons. But they sit down together on the table and they design together everything, because Raf Simons he wasn't working on a collection. He was working on the costumes, and the costumes were the character. So he was at the service of Antonella. Yeah. Other time, a lot of time, fashion designers and costume designers don't go along together, because the fashion designers, for example, for the Black Swan, when Rodarte says,
That's another
made
complicated story.
yes, but they don't understand, I think, which is the very the very final, the finality of the costume. So if you want to say as fashion designer, oh, okay, I designed the costume, the clothes, it's not the same. You have to understand that you work at the service of the costume designer, because the costume designer is creating the character, and the character can be a very fashionable woman, a homeless. For example, there are many examples of characters, for example, characters that I could say something like the way that Patricia Fields work, but is another thing, because she wants to show something that is not so reality. But when we see Sex and the City, when we watch Sex and the City, how many of us says, but how Carrie, who is just a columnist, a journalist, I have been journalist, how can she afford all these clothes? This is another thing. They wanted to do something like this, but if we are talking about a secretary that goes to work every day with Armani, and I've listened something like this, sorry, it's not,
well, I think
it's not
part
real.
of it, in that example, what it is that the showrunner and the creator, Darren Star, his goal was to create a world that was a heightened reality. So
Yes.
this was the perfect combination and collaboration between costume designer and the writer to come up with this heightened reality, which allows the opportunity to have clothes that are larger than life, to create these
Yes.
characters that are larger than life. That is the perfect scenario. But it doesn't work if it's going to be a gritty story and your writer director, their goal is not to have it. They want it to be ingrained in reality and make it domestic. Then you pull back. But each
Yes.
project opens new opportunities to create new types of characters, new icons.
Yes.
But let me go to Emma, one of our first year graduate students. You had a question?
Yes, I did. This might be like something you don't know the answer to or don't feel like sharing yet, and that's totally okay. But I'm just curious, especially with like fingers crossed, the world kind of opening back up again, what your plans are going forward, like what your next sort of project or idea might be.
Yeah.
Now, we have,
Wait.
yes, please.
No, I say for the Mid Hollywood costume designers, and you say for the power of costume design. Yeah, because we are working on these 3 projects. The one is a feature documentary of Anthea Silver. The other is the development of Mid Hollywood costume designer for broadcast. So from all these episodes, we are working on this with this production company on 10 episodes to be sold to the TV. Because for this reason, we postponed the second season of Mid Hollywood costume designers. And again, with this company, you can say this?
Yes, please. No.
We are working on an unscripted project. So we have to begin from the beginning. We have to start from the beginning. It's a 3-part documentary. Again, it is called The Power of Costume Design. And in this documentary we examine how the costume design influence the culture, the society, and fashion through 3 different issues. The one is fashion and costume design. The other is the women in Hollywood. So how costume design, in this case, is a mirror of what is happening in Hollywood regarding the female figure, and the new superheroes, because we see how superheroes has changed and how costume design
evolve also.
Evolves, yes, you can see it on the costumes, how these superheroes are changing in a lot of ways. So these are our projects right now.
We have one more question from Yasmin, calling in. Everybody's in LA right now this time, which is great. Sorry. Go ahead, Yasmin.
Hi, and thank you for coming to our class today. It was so exciting to hear your journey. And I was going to ask if you can name some of the movies that inspired you from the beginning, just some of the movies that are remarkably inspiring you to come and discover the world of costume design.
Okay. Denise Wingate, that she made the Melrose Place. Melrose Place was one of our favorite the 90s. So we're not so young.
Yeah.
We grew up in the 90s, so it was our favorite. So we started to contact costume designers that we was fan of their work. So.
And the other one was Clueless, because I grown up with Clueless. So we invited Mona May, and actually we celebrated the 25th birthday of Clueless. And maybe it was sign, it was destiny for me and maybe for Sakis to come in touch, to get in touch with the costume design world, because my favorite movie, it's Bram Stoker's Dracula. In the 1992, and this was
Eiko is the costume designer.
Yes,
yeah.
And it is a movie that is based on costume, and Francis Ford Coppola told to Eiko Ishioka, I don't want production designer to do anything else, or he has to say the basic, but all the set, all the production, everything in this movie are the costumes. And the costumes are so crazy. So yeah, this is the movie, my favorite movie. And I think the costumes played a very big part in this, but I didn't know that.
And the crazy thing that we discovered after this 3-4 years, this our journey with the costume designers, that a lot of people, they don't have the recognized this profession. Sometimes doesn't have the recognized that they deserve. So this thing give us more energy to continue to give also some more. Of course, the costume designers have their voice, but we try to make our thing also to give more voice.
It's really, really well appreciated by all of us. Really well appreciated. Our last, in closing, what I would like to ask of both of you is, do you have any advice for our UCLA MFA costume designers who are here today on how to network getting into the business? This whole conversation today is an incredible example, firsthand example of how networking opens up all these possibilities to start doing the Hollywood interviews with the costume designers, and then Hollywood in quarantine, and Hollywood bringing the costume designers to live events. And now you're bringing spotlights to costume designers from like Greece, from all these incredible TV series, 4 of which we've never seen here in the States. But do you have some tips on networking?
Yeah, the first thing I think is to make a list of the people that you want to contact. It's very important to have a list, and then to make your homework, to make a little bit of investigation. You are you are a new generation, so you are more close to the social. You're more likely, from Instagram, from Facebook, try to understand who is these people. Try to discover the character of the costume designer, so you can, when you will knock his door, her door, to be ready to answer, to know him better. It's very important.
Very important is the focus, because
to be focused. What do you want?
Yeah, I can talk for us. For example, our aim was always, when we knocked the doors, was always to meet the costume designers in order to shoot an episode with them. But it wasn't just to shoot an episode, because we wanted to learn about these costume designers, we already knew what he did or she did, but we wanted to listen more. We wanted to discover this costume designer and then to show the people, look, these amazing people, this amazing person. So the focus is really important. What do you want from the person you're going to talk with? Another important thing always for us was that we were never interested in actors, for example, stories from the set with
Or
gossips and
gossips,
everything.
Yeah, it's waste of time, right?
Yes, or this is a waste of time. For example, when we went to interview Deborah Landis, we weren't interested in John Landis, for example. We never asked about her husband, not because it's not important, but it wasn't important for us in that moment. We wanted to know Deborah, what she did, what she does today, because it's something amazing what she does. These things. So I think focus is the first thing. So what do you want really? Do you want to work with this costume designer? Do you want to collaborate with a costume designer? Do you want this costume designer to be mentor? I don't know, but
and it's very
be
important
focused.
to have the eye of the tiger,
Yeah, that's
not
good.
to,
Yeah.
not too afraid, and
Yes.
to knock the doors, and to accept
Yes.
when they say to you, no, it's okay, you can continue to the
Yeah.
to the next one. It's not.
And something really important is to learn. You have this huge opportunity now to learn from Chrissy, and you have the huge opportunity to
Deborah.
learn from these people. Yes, starting from the university and going to the set, this is a very big opportunity. I really invite you, because I could really stay there and how can I say, drink every word they say, but you have this huge opportunity.
It's not necessary to be a designer immediately. I don't know, of course, depends of any
Oh,
of
we
you.
have to work our way up.
Yeah, yes,
Yes.
exactly. It's not, for example, Carlo Poggioli that made the Young Pope, he told us that he worked
Yes.
for a lot of years like a costume assistant
Right.
for a
with
lot of
Gabriella
years.
And, yeah.
And when he felt ready, he jumped to the others. He made the other step, the next step, to
The
be a
quantum
costume
leap.
designer.
I call
Yeah.
it the
Yes.
quantum leap.
Ah,
Yep.
okay, this one.
Yeah.
He
Okay.
gave this piece of advice, and
Because
I think
costume designers, I think also Sanya say this to the event that we organized.
oh yeah,
It's not, he cannot make his job without a good crew. Chrissy, you
It
can
takes a
say.
village. It takes a village. And we are
Yes.
only as good as all the people working with us. We inspire them to bring it all together, that eye on the prize. Yeah, we are only as good as our team. Exactly.
yeah, but you are amazing. Sorry.
So one last thing is that when I invite people who view this, and I invite all of my students, when you listen to these different interviews that Saskis and Valentina have created, listen carefully to the opening comments of these designers. What is fascinating to hear over and over and over again, when you guys have asked these designers, how did you get your start? Each one of them has a very similar start. Oh, I volunteered. Oh, I sat by the doorstep and waited, in front of the coffee shop until this designer came in, and just ask them about their life, right? But also when you ask, listen. But what's amazing is so many of them started as a production assistant, started as an intern, started as a volunteer, started by just running and getting the coffee, but observing and learning, and you work your way up. This is a crazy, crazy industry. And especially when you do costume design for episodic television, huge, epic period, even massive contemporary projects, takes an enormous amount of stamina. And you hear it in every designer that both of you have interviewed. And I really enjoy, I look at that as a treasure of gold and of advice. And I thank you both for doing that.
Thank you.
In closing, everybody, check out thedarkcandy.com.
Yeah, you can find some interviews there, some old episodes, Hollywood in Quarantine, the live talks, everything.
Amazing, amazing. Well, Saskis and Valentina, thank you so much for sharing in your home and your careers and all this incredible work that you've done. For speaking from my colleagues, other professional costume designers, we are so grateful for what you are doing and bringing a spotlight to our really hard work. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Really, really, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. It was a pleasure to meet you all.